Hey, how's it going, pop-up camper family? In this video, we're going to show you how to transform your cushions from looking like this to looking like this. So as far as the cushions are concerned, we're getting away with relatively few in this pop-up camper. In our Jayco, we literally only have two for the base of our cushion and then two for the back. So it's definitely not as bad as, like, for example, the Palomino. That was kind of a cushion nightmare and it was overboard on cushions. So as far as cushions, we only have 4 to do. And as far as what we're going to be using for material, this is what we got going on. So do you want to explain our choices for fabric?
Yeah, so we went super neutral for this camper. We're going with all kind of variations of gray because we want our cabinetry to really pop in this camper. And so we ended up with sort of these two, one charcoal gray and one lighter gray canvas materials. And then we have a gray vinyl material. So this is sort of like a faux leather vinyl that we're going to be using for the backs of the cushions. Now, as far as how much of each fabric we have, it's a lot different than the Palomino because of course we have much fewer cushions. So we bought for our camper 1 2/3 yard of this charcoal color, and that's going to be our bottom cushions. And then we bought 4.5 yards of this lighter gray, and that's both going to be the top cushions and also the valances, so that'll all tie together. And the valances we're not going to be doing in this video, so you'll have to stick around to see us do those. And then as for this sort of leather vinyl, we have 3 yards of that because that actually goes on the back of all 4 cushions. So for our thread, we decided to go with an upholstery-based thread. You can use an outdoor thread or an upholstery-based, and we got it in this complementary gray color so that we can use it on all of these fabrics and I don't have to switch out every time. Make sure that you get enough thread if you're going to be doing sort of this larger project. We picked up 2 of these so that way we'll have enough for both our valance project and our cushion project. So I mentioned to you how much fabric we bought, but how did we end up with those numbers? Well, what we did is we simply just measured our cushions ahead of time with a fabric tape measure. And so we went from edge to edge on the fabric that we were looking for. So here on our sort of beautiful leaf fabric, we just wrapped around and we found that that would be about 21 inches. And then again, edge to edge, and you want to make sure that you're going all the way to the edge of your fabric and across to the other side. In our case, we're at approximately 54 inches. And so you would just take that, multiply it by the number of cushions that you have, and then also make sure that you're allowing a seam allowance on all of these measurements. So typically I allow myself at least 2 inches of seam allowance just for safety. And then I always buy an extra 1/3 to 1/2 yard of fabric just to be safe.
Okay, so first things first, we're gonna take out 2 of our cushions, one from the bottom and one from the top, and we are going to seam rip those down so that way we have a pattern or a template to go by once we're making our new cushion covers. So we're gonna leave 2 untouched, and that way we can reference those just to see form and fit as we go along. But we are gonna take 2 of the cushions out, seam rip those down, and go from there. Do your thing.
Okay, so I've got all of the seam ripped apart now, but I'm now going to do the same thing to the zipper because we're gonna reuse these zippers on our new cushions. Okay, I've got the panels seam ripped apart, and now I'm going to start using them as a pattern. And so this is our top fabric, our canvas, and you can see I've got it laid out on top of our new fabric. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pin it down to the fabric and then cut around just as if I was using a pattern. Okay, so as long as I have this fabric out, I'm just gonna cut the other one right away, and I'm actually going to use my newly formed template, so my brand new fabric, since those lines are a little bit straighter, to make my new template here.
Now what are you doing?
Same process as the canvas. I'm just using the bottom template. So this was the vinyl material that looks like leather, and I'm just pinning it onto our new material so we can cut some more templates.
So now we've got both sides of the bottom cushions, so the bottom and the top of the bottom cushion all cut out. We're just working on the top cushion. So once again, seam ripping that, gonna get our templates or patterns, so then of course we can cut out both the top and bottom for our top cushion, if that's not confusing enough. So essentially it's just a lot of repetition for each cushion once you get the hang of it. So we're gonna cut out everything for all of our cushions, and then the next step will be attaching zippers. So one thing that we're gonna do differently than I guess the manufacturer did it is we're gonna take the undersides of the tops of our cushions, and where this is fabric running up here, we're gonna make this whole piece into that kind of vinyl or fake leather. So hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier when sewing, instead of having to make this extra strip of fabric here. And it'll show a little bit when the cushions are on the seat backs, but in our opinion that's okay with us. So now we've moved on to the top parts of the cushion, so essentially the cushion backs. And one thing to note is we did not seam rip this, even though it seems like at the factory they made this part two separate I don't know, pieces of fabric, and then of course sewed them together. So in lieu of doing that, we're just gonna make one big template with it all, forego that seam, and make it a little easier on ourselves as we continue along.
Okay, so now it's time to do our zipper. And so the very first thing that I'm doing here is I'm just making sure that my zipper runs from end to end and that I have my ends pinned down, so that way I don't end up with my zipper off-centered. So as you can see on the original cushions, there is a slight sort of, I don't know, pretty edge along the edge of the zipper that allows you to only see the tooth part of the zipper and not all of this extra white part of the zipper. And so to achieve that look, we're just going to do a simple turned hem on our zipper. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So here I have my zipper pinned, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove that pin, and I'm going to line my zipper up with the edge of my material, and then I'm just going to do a simple flip, and you can see how that gives it a really nice finished edge here. And then I'm just going to give that a pin, and then I'm going to proceed all the way down the fabric just like that, doing that simple line, roll, pin. Okay, so before we do any sewing on our actual material, I'm going to be checking my stitch length and stitch tension on my machine first. And so I'm just going to take a scrap of the material I'm about to work with, which is this sort of vinyl material, and I'm just going to do a little bit of testing to see how I like the stitch. Okay, now it's time to do the other side. And so I'm just matching up my materials here, gonna put down exactly the same little seam and go from there.
Okay, so it's day 2 of our pop-up camper cushion project, and thus far we've knocked out 1 cushion, and we did the bottom of 1 thus far. Learned a few things from doing this cushion, so if you're going to be doing it yourself, not probably the worst idea to start on the bottom one, because usually that's at least semi-covered up. Might cover up some of your seams and stitches if you're practicing on that one. What we learned, however, and we're kind of working with some new material here, this vinyl or this fake leather stuff is actually quite elastic and stretchy, and that has caused us some problems with getting the lengths of material matching up with the zippers as well as just like the normal fabric. So if you're going to be doing this yourself as well, I don't know, maybe shy away from this really stretchy stuff and find something a little bit different. But nevertheless, we are learning as we go here, and we're going to knock out these remaining 3 cushions today. So we also learned that with this vinyl / fake leather fabric, it was really beneficial to just pin the crap out of it. That way the zipper doesn't bunch up on that material, and it stays in place a lot better than if you were to just, I don't know, pin it normally.
Yeah, so normally I wouldn't pin every inch. I would probably pin every 2 to 3 inches, but every inch is necessary on this, so. Okay, so now that the zipper is on both of these pieces, I'm gonna go ahead and create my corners on this canvas piece. And so you'll notice on your pattern that you have sort of these 90-degree angles. And so what that's gonna do is it's gonna create a corner. So we're just gonna fold it together, and then we are going to sew that together, leaving about between 1/4 and 1/2 of an inch of a seam, just depending upon, you know, what there was on your original pattern. Okay, so I'm getting ready to pin that front edge, and you'll see that I have my fabrics inside to inside, or, you know, top to top. So that way, when we flip our cushion inside out, you know, at the end, our fabrics will be the correct direction. And I'm pinning all the way to the edge of the fabric here along that back edge. And so I'm not gonna go sort of here on the inside of that seam, I'm gonna go all the way to the edge, and that's where I'm gonna start pinning my fabrics together. So now that we have that front edge done, or the edge opposite of the zipper, we are going to head up the sides. And so we're gonna start at this back edge here with where all of our sort of corner and front edge come together. And then we're just going to sew up to the point where this canvas material stops. So this one's gonna be a little bit trickier because we can't just have the zipper zipped together, because obviously if I pull all the way up, we won't have a pull to be able to actuate. So we're just gonna have to pin together our zipper here and then pin it into place.
All right, is that the second cushion done?
Second cushion done.
Yay. Okay, so that's the first 2 done, the bottoms. Now we're just gonna knock out the top cushions. It's essentially the same thing, rinse and repeat.
Yep.
Hopefully they take a little quicker or are a little quicker than the first ones. But.
Yeah, I would say that, like, don't get frustrated when the first cushion doesn't go your way, because let me tell you, I seam ripped a lot of times to make it work. My mom is really the go-to for this kind of stuff, and we don't live super close by them, and so I'm taking it on sort of for the first time being filmed. So it was a lot of trial and error, so if it doesn't work the first time, don't get discouraged.
Yeah, so we'll knock these next two out and we'll show you the completed product. So here's everything popped up and looking kind of how it should. Of course, pretend the table is up as well, but we have some stuff stored under there. But nevertheless, that's kind of how our cushions turned out. We're really happy with them, especially how everything's flowing with our color scheme that we have going thus far. Of course, up next, we have the curtains. These nice, beautiful blue curtains with, once again, this nice leaf pattern and on the tie backs, and then our valances. Not sure what we're gonna do next exactly. I don't know if we're gonna tackle the curtains or the valances, but as far as the valances are concerned up there, we're gonna be taking this same lighter color pattern and throwing it up there as well. So that'll kind of tie in, of course, our cushions and our valances here. Now, as far as the blue curtains, sad to see them go because they match like this blue over here, and then we have like the blue on our bed and stuff. But nevertheless, they are gonna go. We're gonna be redoing the curtains as well. So curtains and valances to come on the 2008 Jayco 12HW renovation. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, guys, hopefully we'll see you in the next one. If not, hopefully we'll see you out there camping.